specifically about maybe the player of the bench and close to the player of the game. Thank you very much, Robert Williams.
That's a nice stat line.
Look at that stat. Everyone, can we just take a moment and
Jimmy tried to think of his middle name and you realize he doesn't know.
Sorry, you're right. You're literally right.
He said Robert.
I was about to make it up, and I was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." Robert Williams the third.
It's like the Shaq game last night. Guess his middle name.
No. The funniest thing was when
his first name. Guess his first name.
Yeah. The funniest thing that happened was a week ago when Ernie was talking about it was halftime, and he was like, "Oh, but Pascal's been doing his thing. What do you think, Shaq?" And Shaq goes, "I don't know about this Pascal guy, but Siakam's the one doing it for me."
I believe that so
much. Didn't know his first name, and then to make it worse, he's like, "Oh, come on, man! Everyone calls everyone by their last name. No one says first name." What?
There's certain guys. So it was Malik Monk, which okay, that's probably 50% you do.
He called him Eli.
Yeah.
He called him Eli Monk.
Emmanuel Quickly was hard because that's the second best rookie in this class. You should definitely know who Emmanuel Quickly is.
Yeah.
But then when it got to, who was the obvious one at the end?
At least like Michael Monk or something with an M.
He got Desmond Bain somehow, but who
guessed that? Yeah.
Who was the other guy that you really should have
Robinson,
had?
Right?
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson. That one should have been obvious. There was another one too, but whatever. Robert Lee Williams the third.
Thank you. I was going to say Lee. Damn. All right. So can we just take a moment of silence and just take in this stat line here? And I want you guys to really focus on the last one. 22 minutes.
It's pretty good.
This is what Robert
That was the
Williams.
first thing I looked at when I looked at the box score.
Robert Williams he should be averaging 22 minutes. I never want to see under 22 minutes from Robert Williams being played again. I just don't understand why. And I know that we've harped on it. Me and John have talked about it ad nauseum. Why is this guy playing so little minutes? Every time he's in there, he's affecting the game in some way. Listen, he's not a perfect player. But I don't know if you guys have been watching lately. I haven't seen a perfect player on the Celtics for a long, long time. So why are we, and by we I mean Brad, it seems like we're harder on Robert Williams' mistakes than we are on other players' mistakes, because I see a lot of good things that Robert Williams does out there too. He's by far the most athletic guy on the Celtics. Well, at least big man. Let's just stick to the big man. He's by far the most athletic big man on the Celtics. He does things that Tristan Thompson couldn't dream about doing anymore in his career. You keep going with these. Look, I don't know where I'm going with this. Really though, and I just think that we're at the point now where we've all seen enough, and I hope to God Brad has seen enough, where, listen, if it's really the hip, I don't know if it's the hip or if Brad Stevens is just now becoming hip to Robert Williams.
The hip conspiracy.
Now he's
I don't know which one it is, but all I know is this: Robert Williams looks fine out there on the court. He looks fine. Physically, he's moving around well. Listen, he's not like defensive player of the year. I understand that he's going to miss rotations or he's going to randomly be out of bounds when, Sabonis is at the rim. I get those things, but I still think that what he gives you on both ends of the court outweighs the negative. So I am fully aboard playing Robert Williams way more than what he's playing, which I think he's averaging 14. It was like 12 or something. Maybe it was. I think it was around 14.
It's been 15.
No, it's been 14. It's been 14. He needs to be averaging low 20s. So
there's not games where he doesn't play. It sways a little bit probably on matchups and other stuff and how he's looking, because he does occasionally have a bad game where that probably slips. I feel like he's playing the right amount, not just from a production standpoint.
How can you say that?
But from a health standpoint too.
He's playing hurt, Bobby. Get out of here.
But this is my point.
Stop babying Robert Williams. He's an adult.
Bobby, I know it feels like it's his second year, but it's his fourth season.
Third.
It's just third.
Right, fourth.
No, but this is my point, Jimmy.
You're right. It feels like it's fourth.
Should be.
If he's looking good,
third, but it's the equivalent of a half of a season in terms of minutes.
If he's looking good, if he's feeling good, then the minutes plan that they have, and it doesn't even really need to be a plan because there was no talk of him playing 30 minutes at the beginning of the year.
No one.
Then it's working fine. Well, he's at 22, so what do you want? 25?
No, I'm happy with this.
He's saying average.
Why can't we get this all the time?
I think different games call for different things. You get 3 centers. You got different matchups.
That's the biggest Brad Stevens response I ever heard.
Dude.
I just think Brad's right on this. All right, so I'm gonna read this from.
Brad's right about everything.
I'm gonna read this from Brad. I'll throw it to Joe Sway, see what he thinks about it. So they asked him on 98.5 about Rob. Why isn't he playing more? Right? Yeah, he went on with
the whole thing. I hope you have the whole thing.
Yeah, I got the whole thing right here. So the voice of the fans, and I'll give 98.5 credit. They've been hammering these interviews all week, asking the questions that people want to hear. So they ask him, everybody wants Rob to play more. Why isn't Rob playing more? And Brad goes, I love Rob. I love where he's going. I think Rob's one of our really, really good guys right now as far as energy, feel, and competitiveness, as far as what he's bringing on a nightly basis. He's had a couple of games here where he hasn't been quite as good, but for the most part, he's been what we thought after the bubble he was going to be. I'm just leery of bringing him along too quickly, especially in this stretch. This stretch has been insane. Our guys have navigated it. It's not been easy, and at the same time, we need him on the court, but he's not going to be a 30-minute per game player. We'll try to up that as the season goes along and make him feel as good as he can. Him being his best throughout the whole stretch is what we're shooting for, and that probably means less minutes now, more minutes later. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, it makes sense. I think honestly, it speaks volumes to the pattern of the knocks against Robert Williams. Right? We've been talking about this all season long. The positioning, the fouling, the lapse of judgments in crucial situations. I mean, all that. Brad keeps an eye on that, and I think keeps a close eye on that. And I think Brad Stevens is just looking at the bigger picture because he's been down this road so many damn times. Like, he's been to the end of the Eastern Conference Finals so many times, and I think he just looks at the end result, at the end game, and thinking that, look, if I bring him along slowly, the end result is going to be way worth it in the end. But obviously, I don't think Brad was thinking that this team's going to struggle as much as it has. I don't think he took into account that this slow start meant, being under 530 games into the regular season. I'm not quite sure Brad knew it would go to that extent. So now his plans have changed, and I think that is for the better. It's obvious. I mean, it's easy for us to get frustrated when we see him balling out, and we're like, see, Brad, why didn't you do this before? I mean, it's easy for us to say that. But I think bigger picture, yeah, I'm with Brad in that sense, but I think he should have been doing this a couple of weeks ago. I think he took a little too long with that, and I think Tristan Thompson has a whole lot to do with that as well. Man,
Tristan's been good.
Talk about someone who, no, he's been good, but I think Brad and Danny, I'm not gonna say, for Danny, I'm not calling it buyer's remorse, but you don't think that Danny didn't expect a little more from Tristan Thompson, from Jeff Teague? I mean, I think a lot of him taking on the blame and taking on accountability is directly, the correlation is directly with those two signings. I think it's Danny saying, look, I messed up. People can think what they want about the whole Gordon Hayward situation and how he handled that, but I think Danny's really kicking himself about those two signings. And right now, Brad, the two of them are just trying to fix it at this point.
It's interesting.
Letting Rob Williams out the cage a little more is a big part of fixing it, I think.
It's interesting you say that because he was on the radio as well yesterday, asked a million different questions.
Whoa. We're still talking about Rob, right? You're not going to switch the topic, are you?
It's like the parade. No, but on Thompson real quick, because Joe Sway is talking about buyer's remorse. He did say there were a couple of things he wished he could have done better. Thank goodness there's ways to rectify it. Choices we could have made that maybe would have made somewhat of a difference. I don't know.
Thompson and Teague, I fucked up, guys. My bad on that. Like, just say it.
Dude, it was, again, we're harping way too much on Teague. Right, bottom of the rotation signing. That's fine.
That's true.
I listen. He might, maybe a little buyer's remorse with Thompson, but I actually thought that he was talking more along the lines of like Hayward. Maybe he just feels like we should have just paid Hayward more. I have no idea if that's. I have no idea what.
You know what? I used to think that, but now I'm thinking he's like, man, I could have milked that before Jordan came along. I don't know. That's my thing, though. That's what.
Yeah, or maybe he was talking about Pacers trade if there was one. I don't know. But
that was my first instinct because he said that a couple times.
That's what I mean by that. I like by
milking that.
Man, I should have gotten something in return for that. Like, yeah.
Let's circle back to that in a second. I want to just finish the Rob thought. So what Steven said, I listened to the interview on the radio yesterday in the car, and I thought it was interesting, his answer on Rob. Obviously, he commended Rob and all that thing, but he also made a point to let everyone know that Rob had a couple of games recently that he didn't play so well. Right? Is that what was the
What do you
exact
think
quote,
of that?
Bob? What was the exact quote there? I don't want to misquote.
So
that's what Bobby said.
Yeah, he dropped it in. There's been a couple of games where he hasn't played as well.
Yeah, so it's like that. I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, he just it's almost like he wants everyone to know that, like, Rob didn't play as much as you wanted to play.
I'm seeing things you're not.
I'm seeing it a little bit differently, and like, this one isn't on me. This one's kind of on Rob. That's why he's not playing as much in certain games, which I thought was like, how often does Brad like specifically like go after?
Really, Bobby? That's the first one you put. That's the first one.
I missed it. What did that say?
I got a story on that, but I'll let Jimmy finish.
He said, why did Bobby shave his porn stash?
Yeah, we'll get into that, I'm sure too. But yeah, I just think that was interesting. I think, and it's been the whole Rob Williams situation has been very interesting to follow, because it does feel like the better Rob plays in the more minutes that he gets, the more heat Brad gets for not playing him sooner. So it's like almost like a vicious circle of like, you know, do you play this guy more and he continues to play well, and then people are mad at you for not playing him more? Yeah. Or do you continue to use this, oh, we're limiting him because of, you know, the health or the hip, or, you know, he's not playing as well as you might think he is, sort of thing. To me, it's just, listen, you play your best players, right? It's not rocket science. If there's a guy out there jumping around and jumping over the rim and blocking shots and grabbing alley-oops and everything like that, and the other guy, Tristan Thompson, isn't doing any of those things, I compared Tristan Thompson to like a very boring stock that like probably just sort of like, it's almost just like a good place to put your money, and you don't really have to worry about it like losing any money, but you're never going to really gain anything. And Robert Williams is like this. Robert Williams is like GameStop, right? Robert Williams is like GameStop right now, and it's like, depending on the day, you're either on the moon or you've like lost everything. So it's like,
GameStop's back today, baby.
Exactly, Jimmy, GameStop.
It's like, yo, Jimmy, what's wrong? Yo, fucking, I went all in on the Rob stock, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, he played 12 minutes last night. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't get it.
Honestly, it feels like Stevens shorted Rob, and like everyone else is just buying up Rob, and Stevens is now having to like buy back Rob in order to make Rob not tank but go to the moon. It's like, it's a very complicated situation. So that's how the Celtics relates to Reddit meme stocks right now. But long story short, Rob
great analogy.
Long story short, Rob needs to play more, and I thought tonight was a perfect example of that. If he's getting low 20s in the minutes, I don't think anyone's complaining about his minutes. Rob Stonk, thank you. That's his new nickname.
You know what's funny?
That's pretty good.
Only goes up. Rob only goes up, just like Stonks only go up.
You know, it's funny, Jim, because we talked about, you know, Brad Stevens and obviously the conversation of his future in Boston and all that, you know, a couple of nights ago. And it's interesting. We give him so much props, or at least in the beginning, right? We talked about that too. The narrative was we give Brad so much props for being able to reach certain players, right? The guys, the underdogs, the ones that just need that opportunity to shine. He can get it out of them, right? But with Rob, it's different, right? We are almost like, wait, no, we're not trusting your judgment on this one, Brad. You know, no, Rob is better than you think he is, right? So maybe we jumped the gun.Maybe we should have waited this one out. But again, 30 games in is 30 games in. So he's doing it now. So I guess that's the most important part of it. I wish he was doing it sooner. Right. But I don't think this is one of those what happened like a month ago where it was like, oh no, he's in there, he's a lock, and then he played like 7 minutes against the Lakers or whatever it was. A top tier team where you're like, okay, he disappears, or Brad's not quite sure if he's cemented to the rotation or not. I don't think we're there anymore though. So I'm giving Brad a pass. I'm willing to give him a pass up until this point. But that's considering Rob isn't going to revert to being playing 7 minutes one night and playing 18 minutes the next.
Listen, this comment, I understand that thinking, but I again, like, Tristan should theoretically be good against big bruisers. I just don't think he has been. So again,
good point.
Again, if he was, I totally get it. I just don't think he has been. Yeah. So that's the issue. And listen, I'm not trying to dwell on the past and bring up the past. It's like, just play Rob 20 plus minutes a game, and we won't have to keep going back to why isn't Rob playing, because every time he does, he plays well, because he'll just be playing, right? And if we're proven wrong, we're proven wrong. At least let's get proven wrong. We can't even have that opportunity.
Well,
I think I'll just end by saying I think Rob Stonk was born tonight.
Well, let's make it clear. I mean, no one's upset about the production here. Like, I'm not. I am absolutely blown away by some of the impact he's had, the growth. Again, year over year, Joe Slay mentioned how far into his career it is. He's shown a step, a leap on that ladder every single year. He is better than he was in the bubble, and he was pretty good in the bubble, just not good enough to play every night and have the nightly trust of Stevens. This is the point I keep making, Jimmy. It's not like he's not playing certain nights or like getting 5 minutes certain games. He's a steady, consistent part of the rotation at this point, which is not even what he was in the playoffs. That whole Raptors series, he had a tough time getting out there every game, and then certainly in the East Finals, there was a trust issue there as well. So Stevens, even with some of the shade, I feel like Stevens always tries to suppress some of the hype a little bit. You know, coaches seem to do that in general when there's a huge wave of fans saying, play this guy. You know, that was like the Jim Boeheim special. He would just shoot down any guy who the fans were screaming and yelling for. So you don't see that as much with Brad Stevens, but I think every coach has a little bit of that. Like, you're not going to run my rotations. You're not going to decide the minutes here, all that kind of stuff. I think he has some points on it. I think you guys bring up great points of why you would want to see him more. I just think there's a reason and a process right now that I trust generally. Like, I don't think Stevens is just sitting there with like blinders on the bench every time Rob's in the game, pulls them, and then opens his eyes when Thompson and Tice are out there and is like, this is our best unit here. I mean, he's positioned Rob to be the only guy on the floor with those bench units, which definitely helps him. He gets some free run against other bench units, which certainly helps him as well. I mean, there's a question here of how good he would be if he was playing against starters every game, like Joel Embiid.
Let's find out.
Bam. Yeah, we'll find out eventually. I mean that's the good thing about this quote. We're going to find out eventually.
It's his third, like Joe Soy said, it's his third year in the league. Well, he said it was his fourth year, but it's his third year in the league. Let's take the training wheels off. At some point, you got to know what you have, right? I mean, at some point, he's going to become a free agent, and you have to know, what is this guy worth?
That's a good point, too. They might have to extend him this offseason.
Right. And I mean, if you're Rob, at what point, if you're Rob, are you just pissed? Like, listen, man, I'm trying to make a living here. I'm trying to get paid myself.
Demand a trade?
No, but like,
well, I mean,
how can he build his value on the bench?
Bobby, you look back to what he was saying before the season. Remember all that? Oh, you know, I'm more vocal now. You know, I'm a presence on the court. I'm no longer that kid who's you know, just taking notes. He talked about the strong influence that Al Horford had on him, that a lot of people don't, you know, from the outside looking in, realize that it really, you know, transformed him into this. He doesn't feel like a younger guy anymore. He feels like, you know, he didn't use the word veteran, but he feels like he's another notch now. And then it was like, what happened? You know, the first couple of games there. And then, you know, Grant Williams was still in the rotation, but Brad got him in there, right? Little by little, or at least maybe I shouldn't put it that way, but Robert Williams got himself into that rotation, got himself more minutes little by little. So, I mean, it's been ramped up. You know, it wasn't like he's just been thrown into the fire here, you know, within the last week or so.
So let's go back to and we'll get on to the Turner stuff in just a second here, but I do want to say this because of the Thompson decision, and we're hitting on that a little bit. Do you think they would have signed Thompson or even gone for Miles Turner for that matter if they knew what they were getting in Rob Williams this year? Because I don't think this was clear, especially with what I said about his playoff performance and the unreliability there. If they knew that he was going to be a steady presence who could contribute, impact every game he played in, Thompson's probably not here, and Turner's probably not here either. They probably do use in another direction like John wanted to see, which could be what Ainge is alluding to as well.
I don't know. It would have been really risky. I mean, Rob was giving you next to nothing in the playoffs because, again, he wasn't playing. So I don't even know how you go into this. I mean, if you went into this season with Rob as your, you know, backup big or whatever, that's really
risky.
That's really, really.
Grant would have been playing a lot again.
I was going to say Grant would have to, yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Rob should have got 20 minutes last season, but maybe he should have got more minutes last season than he got. I mean, I do know that Bam torched him and torched everybody, and he wasn't ready for that. But how much more ready could he have been had he been maybe playing a little bit more? It kind of goes back to the Neesmith argument. It's like, at some point, you do have to play this guy. He's not going to get any better for you sitting on the bench. And now, all of a sudden, he goes from a DNP to he's, you know, getting 20-plus minutes a game here. Whether or not you think he's playing well or not, I mean, he's getting the experience, he's getting the burn, and it's the only way he's going to get better. So maybe if Rob had been brought along a little bit sooner, we're talking about the fact that he's already averaging.